letters she never sent. The Grant estate in Georgia was a labyrinth of polished mahogany and quiet history, built on a foundation of generational success. For 22-year-old Camille, heiress to this formidable African-American legacy, it had always felt more like a museum than a home. It had been 6 months since her mother Evelyn had passed, and the silence still echoed, particularly near the door to Evelyn's private study. The study was the only room in the sprawling mansion that had been truly hers, a world of leather-bound first editions and the faint scent of gardenias. Camille finally pushed the heavy door open. Everything was as her mother had left it: the grand mahogany desk, the globe, the rich, custom-made African-patterned rug. Camille walked to the mahogany desk, running a finger over the smooth, cool wood. Her mother had always been meticulous, almost formal, in her affections and her organization. Camille remembered a small, almost imperceptible latch under the desk's lip that only Evelyn knew about. She pressed it, and a shallow compartment slid open. Inside were dozens of letters, all addressed to my beloved Camille, but none had been sent. Camille carefully picked up the top envelope. The elegant script was undeniably her mother's. Her eyes scanned the first lines. My dearest girl, I watch you sleep sometimes, and the sheer sudden force of my love for you takes my breath away. The letter continued, speaking of the pride Evelyn felt as Camille chose her own path, resisting the easy route of the family's banking business. You have the courage of an explorer, darling. I knew I couldn't crush that spirit by forcing you to see my face in the audience. I had to let you fly on your own, even if my silence made you doubt my support. Camille remembered standing on this very spot years ago, asking her mother for advice on her university application, only to be met with a crisp, "Make the right choice, Camille. The Grant name expects nothing less." At the time, she'd heard only a lack of warmth. Now she read, I wish I could have said, I believe in you no matter what, but the weight of our legacy always tightened my tongue. She moved to the second letter, dated a year later. Evelyn wrote about the family's formality, the constant pressure of being a prominent African-American family in the South, and how that rigidity had been passed down. It's a prison of politeness we inherited, my love. I feared vulnerability more than I feared failure. Forgive me for confusing discipline with distance. A profound understanding washed over Camille. Her mother hadn't been cold. She had been trapped, a woman who expressed her deepest love not through words, but through meticulous provision and a silent, overwhelming expectation. The letters were a confession, a beautiful, painful bridge built after the connection had seemed lost forever. Camille picked up the wilted white rose from the first page, now pressing it gently into the stack of envelopes. She didn't need to send the letters. They had been sent through time, through shared history, and through the quiet understanding she now held. The silence in the house hadn't vanished, but the echoes were different now. They sounded less empty and more like rest. She stepped out onto the grand veranda overlooking the sprawling manicured Georgia gardens. The sun was warm on her face. Camille was still a daughter grieving her mother, but now she was also a daughter who finally knew the full, unreserved love of the woman who had raised her within walls of polished mahogany and silent expectation.